Everybody, it is 6:30. I am going to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Wilson,
Here.
Ares,
Here.
Cagle,
Here.
Carter, Cowart,
Present.
Crane, Esri, Farney,
Here.
Fava, Portado, Hanauer Friedman,
Here.
Lakshin,
Here.
Pugh,
Present.
Rodriguez,
Here.
Rogers,
Present.
Settles, Sexton,
Here.
Sollard,
Here.
Vantage Theranon,
Here.
Wiggs,
Here.
Locke.
Here. All right, we have a quorum and then some. Seeking approval of the agenda. If anybody would like to make a motion, so moved by Wilson and second by Vantage Theranon. Any discussion of the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an agenda. We have the minutes from the April 14th, 2026 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Anybody? Bueller? All right, moved by Farney, second by Ares. Any discussion of the minutes? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes have been approved. Public input, I only have one slip, so I'll call you forward. Gabriel Dunn, come on forward. Green means go on the microphone, so just push the button, and when it's green, start talking. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Gabriel Dunn, and the reason why I'm appearing before you today is I was made aware that during a time of budget cuts, where agencies in the county are being told that they're going to have to do with less, and even our county employees are being told that they're going to have to do with less. I'm hearing disturbing information that our current county executive is going to be getting a pay raise. And at all levels, this is honestly quite ridiculous, and this should not even be a partisan issue. If we don't have our fiscal house in order, we don't have our own budgets in order, like as a family, we don't just get to reward ourselves with treats. But when it's like a family telling their kids, sorry, we're not going to be able to celebrate Christmas, but the parents are going to go on a lavish vacation. My whole thing is like, if we're telling everyone else that they're needing to tighten their belts, then I think elected officials need to tighten their belts as well. And so I would strongly propose in a bipartisan manner that the county executive tighten their belt, because it's elitist, and people were Head Start is struggling, and Head Start should not be struggling while our elected officials are giving themselves pay raises. So let's get our fiscal house in order so people's needs can get paid. I mean, if your needs are getting met, you don't need a pay raise right now. Maybe that can come later. So my whole thing is like, just let's get our fiscal house in order. And I'm just saying this as a resident of Champaign County who pays taxes here. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. I will note that if you want to hang out, we will be discussing the salaries of all the countywide electeds that are up for election this year later tonight, if you want to hang out while we do that. If not, it's available on YouTube whenever you want to watch it. I have no further slips, so public input is closed. Are there any board member communications? Ms. Carter.
Good evening. This is the biggest group of adult kids I've ever been around. Have a tantrum, shed a few tears, and the Karen Committee is activated in full savage mode. A bunch of pick-me's, but then they're lazy and really had no intentions of making sure the audit was completed. Your egos were stroked, thinking you really did something. Let's call Julia Reese to ensure the changes you make are legal, or were they? Never got full clarification on the removal of the auditor's duties and his staff. You fling your hair, roll your eyes at the mention of George Danos, but complete silence on your failure to ensure the audit was completed. Steve Summers' frivolous spending or Michelle's jet personal $60,000 wage increase, which shows this board is incompetent, ineffective, and with selective outrage. Apologies to the RPC and the constituents of our district. Because of the emotional, hateful moves of this board, grow up or resign. We're sick of it. This community is fully aware of the troublemakers creating the problems, then act as if they're the problem solvers. This has been a 3+ year battle. Are we tired yet? You see how there's always consequences when you act off your emotions? Shout out to the state representative, Carol Ammons, and Senator Paul Faraci for taking their positions as elected officials seriously and know how important it is to work together for the good of the community of which they serve. You've officially pissed off most elected officials, excluding Julia Reese and Dustin and the employees of Champaign County. Leave people alone. You can't even tend to the business you signed up to do. Your positions aren't permanent, thank God, and I urge the community members to unseat these emotional, unstable, precious little lilies. Thank you.
Any further board member communications? Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Chair Locke. This week is Police Officers Memorial Week, and today in Champaign and the county, we celebrated Police Officers Memorial Day. Thank you, Steve Summers, for the proclamation you gave today. And I thought I would read a quick statement from the President of the United States. On this Peace Officers Memorial Day, we solemnly commemorate the officers who gave their lives in the line of duty across our nation. Throughout Police Week, we honor the sacrifices of our law enforcement community and the families who stand beside them. I was also at the state venue this week, and Gold Star family members spoke. And I think a lot of times, what I took away from that is sometimes we forget about the humanity of our law enforcement and the families that are involved and the impact on their families, and those, especially with the Gold Star family members, it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime impact. In 2023, there were 79,000 violent attacks on police officers across the nation. In 2025, it is now at 90,000. 90,000 incidents. It can be anywhere from domestic disturbance, traffic stops, and even ambush attacks. And I'm shocked that it just seems that the people that are hired and paid on that thin blue line are so devalued with respect to their humanity and their families. So in Champaign, we had 3 officers. Officer Thomas Dodsworth in 1913. Officer Robert Tatman was shot on Mattis, 1967. I talked to his son today. His son was 6 years old when his father was shot. And in 1967, still to this day, no one knows who shot him. That's a tragedy. And then Officer Oberheim just recently, 5 years ago, was shot responding to a domestic disturbance. I applaud the county for setting up the Memorial Day ceremony today and Steve reading the proclamation. And thank you, police officers, law enforcement that are out there doing their best to try to keep us safe and our community safe.
Mr. Pugh?
Thank you. I want to publicly thank Representative Ammons, Senator Faraci, and the staff of the Regional Planning Commission for their efforts in fighting to continue the funding of many grants and programs that have been shut down from this late 2024 audit. I think we as a board have to prepare for the possibility that we're not going to make the July 1st deadline for a lot of different grants with and without, in and outside of RPC. And they really have to look at the fact that, we might have to lay off or fire people from positions. They may have to be let go because we just don't have the money to pay them. On a positive note, March 24th, it's a Sunday before Memorial Day. There will be Lowe's first Peace and Love barbecue at the Douglas Park. Free food, there'll be a bounce house, game trailer, what else I have? I think there's a face painter, usually pinatas, other things like that too. The first real big anti-gun violence kind of event on the north end yet for the year. No backpacks, no hoodies, no masks. So come bring your kids if you want. Thanks.
Any further board member communications? Ms. Carter again.
Yeah, I think his correction is May the 24th for the, you said March.
Yes, that is correct. I'm sorry, that would have been 2 months ago.
And also, I just wanted to mention that I'm in communication with the city of Champaign, and we are setting up our, we're trying to get everybody scheduled together for the ribbon cutting ceremony for Garden Hills Park. And we know for sure it's going to be in July. We're just trying to get people's vacations and stuff in line as to when everybody will be in town, from the mayor and the city manager and different employees, to make sure that we will all be present in July. So I will share that date once it's confirmed. I will share it with the board, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. This is the biggest, the largest construction project in a neighborhood, and I'm very proud to say that I was a part of that. So, and also, of course, my constituents of District 6 played a big part in advocating for this. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for the heads up on that ribbon cutting. It'll be nice to see. We were just a small part of that county helping out, but it'll be great to see that for that part of the community. Any further board member communications? All right, moving on. Policy, personnel, and appointments. Chair Vantage Theorenot.
Thank you, Chair Locke. The monthly HR report should be on your desk for March and April 2026. We will be moving on to requesting the request to update the job description for the Board of Review members. It's on page 6 through 13 of your packet. Does anybody have any input they would like to make?
I would actually ask if Ms. Jett could explain in succinct terms to the board what we're looking for, or what sort of guidance is sought from the board.
So in a couple of different ways, we've just found a lot of conflicting historical information about the Board of Review in terms of what the salary, how the salaries are set, do they get the annual COLA increases, what the job description is, versus a longer document we found that talks more about the appointment process. So we're just trying to clean all that up. And so we're at the point where we need some guidance. So the first point that we're asking for is we have kind of just updated the job description to match all of our other job descriptions that we have. And we've created a secondary document that's much longer, that has more of the appointment information that isn't necessarily relevant to the job description itself. So the first question would be, are there any concerns to the updated job description, which is the same information, just the more detailed, longer appointment pieces are moved into a secondary document. And this document is what would be posted on our website, would be available to the public, would be the first place that someone would stop if they're trying to figure out what a Board of Review member does.
And if we were to want to forward this for consideration, are you looking for like just a show of hands or a thumbs up, or are you looking for more discussion in a more formal?
That would be fine, because it's the information we currently have. We've just condensed it a little bit and moved the excess information that really applies to the appointment process and to the more in-depth detail of what the jobs do into just a secondary document that we would provide to a Board of Review member once they're appointed and whatnot. But the public job description document is not any new information.
Okay, so this is just secondary information that you want to have available for the board members once they're in the position.
This is the job description that I'm asking you to look at right now.
Okay.
Noticed, so in the qualifications and experience, we dropped the or equivalent experience in another trade, profession, or course. Is that intentional? Just to limit it, the resource or the candidate pool to only?
I can't hear you very well. What?
Sorry, I can talk louder. The certificates, license, and registrations dropped the or equivalent experience in another trade, profession, or course of educational study. Is that kind of a deliberate move to try to better tailor to candidate pool, or is that?
So at one point, this board had determined that they wanted a real estate license, which is not a state requirement to be a Board of Review member. So that would be something if you, as a body, wanted to take up again, but that you need to tell us what you want that to be. Because, so the previous one was not accurate because the board said, no, the only thing that we are willing to accept is a real estate license. So, which is not, again, the statutory requirement.
There's.
So I know this is not part of the edit, and I apologize if this is somewhere where I'm not reading it, but I was wondering, since this position is like 80% time, and I see the pay later on, is it set to hourly or is it set to salary for someone who's 80%, won't, maybe not 100% the entire year?
It's just an annual salary.
Okay.
And I don't know that it's a fair statement to say that it actually is 80%. It's just very
maybe.
seasonal. So they work extensively from August 1st, July 1st on through the rest of the year, but there's just not a lot to do in the beginning part of the year. So.
Seeing no other hands, unless I'm missing somebody? No? Okay. Raising your hand?
Ms. Lorraine, are you raising your hand or just positioned there? I was asking if that was a raised hand. Okay.
Okay. Do you want a show of hands?
Yeah, I guess, are there any strong objections or concerns that we need to go back and rewrite some piece of this? Would be my first question. Okay.
All right. Appointments and reappointments. Italics indicate you're incumbent. I would propose a omnibus for 3A, B, and C. If someone could put that forward. Mr. Sullard, is there a second? Mr. Cagle? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? This is for appointing Clayton Coulter to the Sidorus Fire Protection District, term ending 4/30/29. Appointing Rodney Lokshin to the Ludlow Fire Protection District, term ending 4/30/2029. No relation, I presume. Appointing Brian Thode to the Broadlands Longview Fire Protection District, term ending 4/30/2029. Can I have a motion? Actually, we just had a motion, so we're good. A discussion. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Farney. We did a motion for the omnibus, is that, do we need another? Okay. Sure, all right, why not? Mr. Farney makes a motion for 3 positions. Do I have a second? Mr. Wilson? Discussion? Ms. Lokshin?
I will say that's Rodney Lotion, I believe, and I'm
Lotion,
Lokshin,
okay.
so
We're not related.
My bad. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed?
Chair Venice, they're not.
Yep,
If I may, I just wanted to add a point of information.
sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm ahead of myself. You still have one more appointment to go.
We do. Appointing Wallace Sutherland to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term ending 11/30/2027. Can I have a motion? Mr. Sullard, a second. Ms. Locke, discussion. Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We have applications for open appointments on pages 18 through 26. Currently vacant appointments are available on the county's website. The county clerk's fee report is on page 27. I have no other business or chair's report. Designation of items to be placed on the consent agenda are A3, A, B, C, D. I believe that is all.
Thank you. We're moving on to finance. Chair Hanauer Friedman.
Did the executive have something to add before we move on?
It goes back to the previous vote. Just a point of information, I talked with John Hall, our Planning and Zoning Director, and if Mr. Sutherland is approved formally at next week's meeting, he will be the first African-American ZBA member in Champaign County ever.
Okay, moving on to finance, we have budget amendments and transfers, our monthly general corporate budget amendment report for information only. And then we have BUA 2025-12-1688, Fund 2107, Geographic Info System Fund, Department 010, County Board, increased appropriations $597, increased revenue 0, reason appropriation to cover budget shortfall for GIS dues. Can I get a motion? Vanich Theorenot, second by Sullard. Any discussion? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. Is this a one-time, or is this, and it's going to cover any future needs throughout the year?
No, this was just a one-time shortfall. This was from fiscal year 25.
And why is there a shortfall? And is there a remedy to the shortfall?
Well, we actually will be discussing GIS fees later on this agenda.
Okay, well, we can wait till then.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Budget Amendment BUA 2026-5-27, Fund 2075, Regional Planning Commission, Department 100, Regional Planning Commission, increased appropriations $400,000, increased revenue $400,000, reason appropriation of Atlas grant funds. Can I get a motion? Ms. Carter, second by Sexton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next, we have the auditor monthly reports are available online through June 2025. And we have the treasurer monthly reports available online through March 2026. Next, county executive, we have the available budget report through April 2026, information only. We have the fiscal year 2024 audit update, information only. These are all in your packet.
I have a question or two about that, if I may.
Sure, Mr. Pugh.
Thank you. Have we started the 2025 audit yet in any capacity at all?
Who are you directing your question to?
I guess the finance, because I guess you, the finance chairs, I guess you're supposed to know, but if not, I can try to direct it to somebody else who is supposed to know.
Yeah, so I will say that the work has begun in that the day-to-day work is now being done in the finance department to produce the documentation that will be needed for the audit. But the team needed to finish the 24 audit before they can begin the 25, and the 25 books needed to close first. And I would turn it over to admin to see if they have more to add to that.
Yeah, the 25 books were closed in the end of March. So I think it's important to note the distinction when you say, is the audit being done? The audit has to be worked on every single month. So now that the 24 trial balances have been turned over, the finance team has begun the process of catching up on all of the 25 monthly reconciliations that did not happen at all in the year of 2025. And so catching up on those, because those couldn't be done until the 24 was caught up. So that work is being done now, with the goal being that having all of that done and ready to be turned over to the external auditor as soon as the external auditor is done with their portion of the 2024 audit.
Okay, that was the first question. Thank you. Second question I have is, as we found out kind of in RPC meetings last week, it sounds like the 2024 audit might be done right before the July 1st deadline for the state, or sometime it might go to the September 30th at the latest. Has that changed at all, or do we have any updated from that at all?
The audit update is in the packet.
Yeah, CLA is not giving us an exact estimate at this point of completion.
They did for RPC, that's why I was wondering if
we have, well,
information has
RPC
come.
and the executive's office are all at the same meetings with CLA. They will not quote us an exact end date. We have made it abundantly clear to CLA.
No, I was asking for a range.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. We have made it abundantly clear to CLA that we really need this audit completed by the end of June, because that is our fiscal year, and there are serious implications if that does not happen.
Thank you. I was good enough with the range. Third question, final question. Do you folks know? I'll do it to anybody here, because it seems like RPC knew, but nobody else knew. Do we have any grants that we cannot apply for? Do we have any grants that we're not going to get the next year? And what do we have for grants that are on stop pay? Anybody? I'll open up to anybody.
Chair Locke, would you like to take that one?
Hi. So a fun thing that we found once we hired a grant coordinator is that grants within departments within the county are not centralized in any way. So part of Kate's job has been just finding out which department has what, so that we have a centralized database even of what, so that there's some knowledge of what we have. We've been working with department heads to find out like what holdups they have. Obviously, the biggest and most concerning is coming out of the clerk's office. And department heads are doing what they can on their own, and many are working with Travis and with CLA to get whatever letters they might need to basically, like RPC did, to satisfy their the grantors, right? They're getting what they have to say, hey, we're doing as best as we can right now, and like we found with RPC, many are willing to cut a little slack this time. But it's hard to answer off the top of our head what grants are lost, because they're not centralized. It's not something admin has an answer to, because they're all within their own departments. We're trying to amass that information. We don't have access to it if it's not reported to us. So to say yes, absolutely, or no, absolutely, would be faulty, because we just don't know what some department heads might have if they're not willing to tell us.
Why couldn't we ask then? I mean, last time you asked me to ask each individual department head, I'm not the finance chair. I'm like way down here. But it seems like we should know that. And especially with the kind of streets we're in right now, we should have known that months ago, or at least, send an email to department heads. Please, we're trying to keep track of these. If you're not able to, please let us know so we could track these. We could see what's coming down the line, rather than, something happens and like, oh, we have to lay off 15 people now because we didn't get something. Or
Those
we have to
emails-
prepare for it?
Yeah,
or
those
whatever?
Those emails have been
going
sent,
out.
and, it's back and forth. But again, we can't force someone that's a duly elected official to cooperate with the desires and wants of the board. We can't force them to do that, so if they don't answer us, they don't answer us.
So nobody's answered then, is what you're saying?
That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying
just
that
trying
we
to
don't
see.
have a centralized, we can't
Okay, I
answer
think,
for somebody that we don't know.
Okay, no, that's
we're
fine.
gonna-
then
we're gonna move
for the-
on.
no, for the
Did you
county
have any
clerk-
further
For the
questions,
county
Mr.
clerk,
Pugh?
for the county clerk, then what's going on? Because I don't know what's going on with them, but you mentioned it, so please bring it up. I don't know.
The county clerk has a very large grant for voting, as we know, and it's large. And that is potentially in danger, and I believe it's over $400,000. And that would be catastrophic. And that is why we have been working as hard as we can with CLA to communicate that we need this as soon as possible. But meetings have been held between finance leadership, between the executive's office, and between the clerk's office, with both Mr. Ammons and his chief deputy. And so these conversations are happening, and the concerns are legitimate, and we all should be outraged. And also, we all have to find the solution and move forward. And we've been saying for a while, this year will be very bad, and we will get through it, and then the information will be created that will actually be auditable in the future. This is the low point. This is the bottom point. But the conversations have been happening, and obviously, direct questions not just thrown out in a boardroom, but actually asked so that we can investigate before the board meeting. Those are helpful too, and I'll always be willing to investigate and answer.
Yeah, I just had one question for my constituent of mine. Do we have any idea how much this overage to CLA and all its extra work is going to cost us? Thank you.
Okay, that's the type of detailed question that would be really helpful to get in an email, because we don't have numbers like that in our board packets.
No, I just thought we have an idea.
Okay, we're
That's all.
going to move on. Ms. Carter, did you have discussion on the audit update?
I mentioned in caucus, and I'm going to mention it here, this process that's being done is excluding the auditor, even though this community voted for an auditor for this county. And because of these emotions that you guys have amongst each other, issues that have happened with the auditor's office, it's being softened that you haven't completed your job. And you were trying to play that you were trying to save any further disruptions, but you've made it worse. And so I'm looking for accountability here. Moving forward, I would like to know, and I think our constituents would like to know, what does the process look like? I think our auditor has 2 more years left of his term, and you've already proven that you're not capable of completing the audit. So are we going to exclude the auditor for the remainder 2 years, or are we going to work together like adults, like I see other elected officials are capable of doing, but just not within this board? So I would think that this community, our constituents, are owed some kind of explanation moving forward what this process is going to look like, all emotions aside. I think that we should be working together, but because of these personal spats and issues that we've had with the auditor, we are selectively outraged at the process that's going on with you guys, but it's been terrible what George has done, but you've made it worse. So I just think that we should be transparent moving forward. I would like some type of collaboration with our elected auditor. Okay, that should be included. Understood, it's up under the executive office. But we got the main chief in charge, Michelle Jett, that created this mess, and I think there should be some type of collaboration moving forward with our auditor, if just to show good faith in her position as the executive, instead of creating more drama, more emotional tantrums amongst this board and this community. So that's what my question is. What is this process gonna look like moving forward? Thank you.
So, with all due respect, that's your opinion, and I strongly disagree, as do all of the members of this board who voted to move the duties and positions that were formerly in the auditor's office to the executive's office. There were multiple reasons that that was done. We have discussed those many times in many meetings. My co-chair and I wrote a letter to the editor, to the News Gazette, to make sure the public was informed of what was going on. We have done everything that we can to share what's going on with the public. There are certain things we cannot share with the public because they are sensitive HR issues. And I'm sorry, that's just how the world works. So, but we have done everything that we can to be transparent and to explain the problems that existed under the elected auditor. This board has absolutely no power to fire an elected official. We can't do that. So we had to do what we thought was best. We are an elected body, we voted. I'm not sure how much history I should repeat here because we've had this conversation many, many times. And we are just gonna have to agree to disagree because it's in the past at this point. Moving forward, again, we have told the public, we have told this body many, many times. Ms. Jett just discussed this in her response to a previous question. It's gonna take some time. Audit work, you're working on the previous year's information. You can't just wave a magic wand, move positions, and the next day everything's done. It takes time to catch up. There were so many problems, so many mistakes, so much work not done that this office is gonna take at least a year to catch up and get us to a point where we can be fiscally responsible and have timely audits, which is what everybody wants. We all want the same thing in this room. We want our grants funded. We want our county running well. And I don't know what else to say at this point because we've been down this road so many times. We may disagree on, you didn't vote for that when the board voted, but the majority did. And everyone is doing their best to make things run as smoothly as possible. That's really all I can say. And I think we probably need to move on soon, but okay, Ms. Rodriguez.
I just want to briefly draw the public's attention to several presentations that we've had on the status of the audit and what exactly that process looks like. I believe it was in March and April, but nearly every single county meeting that you would view on YouTube gives a detailed explanation to questions on how this audit is performed and why the audit is behind. We've had high-level staff members commit hours of time preparing presentations and memos to inform county board members on the mechanics of why this audit is late and the process by which we will get caught up. Ad nauseum, we have discussed this. So again, if you are in the public and you find yourself confused about what's going on, I would review our agendas, our agenda packets. It's all on the website. We have been quite transparent, and we have even dedicated staff hours to it.
Okay, I'm going to suggest we move on because we have some really important items coming up to discuss here.
Just one quick.
Okay, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. And thank you for the audit update. I do think it's maybe lacking or remiss on a few items. So it's good to see that CLA is fully staffed. But my curiosity is, requests from CLA to county staff have significantly slowed recently as CLA is, what bothers me is the word hopefully. Hopefully completing much of their testing requirements. I think this report could be improved if it also included an update from CLA embedded or part of this report, because we're basically a team effort. And right now, it looks like from Travis Woodcock's perspective, the finance director, I hope we're not marching on hope. Okay, I got to play on words there. But hopefully completing much, we should know at least how many more test requirements are. There's probably a set number. I'm used to reporting that has more statistics to it rather than a hope and a wish. So I'm thinking maybe on our next report, we could conclude with, or include what CLA is saying, and it would be helpful at least to know, is there a best case or a worst case on the audit when it is expected to be finished? That would be nice information. I think it would be beneficial to the public.
I completely agree with you, and that is the same question we ask CLA every week, and they are intentionally vague. I don't know how else to put it, because I think they don't want to quote us a date and then not deliver on that date. So we could certainly ask them to provide a written update, like we've asked them to provide letters to our funders. I'm also hesitant to take any of their time away from our audit if it's not absolutely necessary. So I'll, certainly can bring your comments back to Travis and see what we think. But I agree. I understand the update is vague, but that is, at this point, it is in CLA's hands, and we are working with their style. Okay. See no further discussion. We have a discussion on GIS fees. So if you look in your packet, page 37, or is this not actually page 30? Yeah, no, it is page 37. So you can see we have a pretty detailed memo here, also from Travis, on these fees. They have not been raised in a long time, and the proposal is to raise the current fee of $15 to $25. And you can see there's a table showing how the revenue from these fees has been significantly declining over the last few years. And what he's saying is that it does not currently cover the costs, the expenses that these fees are supposed to cover. And just a point that is important here, that who we're talking about is this is when somebody purchases a home, that they would be paying this $25 fee. So I'm going to open that up for discussion. Mr. Pugh.
Yes, thank you. You had said in caucus that the county clerk had sent you a memo, but I don't see this in here about this, or some kind of hardship or something like that. Does the county clerk have a minute to talk if he wants to?
Sorry, Chair Locke.
I had mentioned, I might have said memo, I meant an email that was sent to finance leadership. It wasn't included in the packet, but if Mr. Ammons is here and wishes to speak his thoughts to it, I would support him coming up.
Good evening, everyone. How you all doing? All right. The increase was a $10 increase. The charge is $71 currently for anyone who needs to record this deed. And there's a breakdown of what my office receives for automation fund, what the county board receives. I think it's like $34 that the county board receives for every one of those purchases. And currently GIS gets $14 plus a dollar automation fund that's kicked back to my automation fund. So they're currently getting $14 every time we process one of these deeds that costs a total of $71. And so the increase would move, it's not just the GIS component of this. It's actually raising the entire $71 to $81. And that extra $10 is basically going to be earmarked, I guess, to go to GIS. I've only had a conversation with Travis once or twice about this. He and my chief deputy went through a couple of different emails. And so my memo, or the email that I sent, was that I had some concern about this because it is like a 67% increase from $15 to $25. And a few years back, I asked this board for a $2 notary fee, and you said it was too much for this group of people. But now $10 is not too much, is what my communication was. So I thought it was an extreme bump to go from $15 to $25, because it's a 67% increase. I thought maybe it ought to be moved more gradually.
Any question specifically for the clerk while he's up here, or Ms. Furtado?
This might not specifically be for the clerk, but thank you, that's helpful. So I guess the one thing that maybe is a little bit different, and, well, actually, Aaron, I do actually have a question for you. The earlier, the notary fee that we raised,
We did not raise it.
no, did not raise, but was that would have brought us in more revenue, but was it covering a set? I forget, just, I mean, honestly.
No, it was
I cannot
just an
recall
attempt
the
to-
nuance of the conversation. Was it in order to cover like a set expenditure? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I don't believe it was that. It was designed, I thought that all of the money would come back to the board. It wasn't like we were collecting anything from it. It was just an attempt to participate in helping the
revenue,
general fund.
Okay, that, I appreciate that, thank you. Because what I'm also, I guess, and this, now the second part is not for you. Thank you very much, Aaron. What I guess I'm not is totally clear on with GIS is there is set expenses for GIS, like software and staffing. I don't understand though, and I will say, if in the future we could get charts that are slightly bigger font than this, because I am old and I cannot read this without like a magnifying glass and a lot of squinting. But what I'm not as clear on is these fees, how much of the county's budget for GIS does it cover? Do you see what I'm saying? So it says here, it looks like there's $420,000 of expenses and $250,000 in revenue, which is a huge shortfall. Is this in its entirety what is paying for GIS? I know there's you know what I'm saying? Like, that is not clear to me. And then the other thing that's not clear to me is, like, if that is the case, we've had a shortfall for a very long time. So we've been subsidizing this to the tune of $200,000 a year for years. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, I guess my question is this the only thing that covers those expenses?
Ideally, yes. And I guess the rate was sufficient to do that back during the housing boom that accompanied COVID, with all of the fun times then and the building before that. But we're in a different reality now. We're in a different housing climate now, and we still have the same financial obligations to GIS, but we're not bringing in that same revenue. So yes, the general fund is covering that right now. And it would seem that if the needs are such because of transactions, the transactions could bear that burden.
And a follow-up, my guess is the expenditure for GIS software has also escalated, because all software has escalated in this time. And the one trick with GIS is it is what it is. There's not, ArcGIS is it. There's not like another software that you could go, like, this isn't a competitive kind of thing. This is the mapping software in the United States. So, like, if this is a fixed cost, it does seem that we need to try to get as closer to the fixed cost. Now, to the clerk's point, maybe, we could have a discussion on like how much closer, but this is a fixed cost that we have to, it's not like a negotiable cost. It's very strong.
So as somebody who can yet read the 6-point font, the revenue per unit is $13.89, but the cost per unit is $23.33, which leaves an almost $10 gap, $9.44. That is why the proposed increase would be to not only cover that gap, but to also give a little bit of a cushion for the inevitable price raise that's going to come with inflation and everything else over the coming couple of years.
Ms. Furtado?
Yeah, so to sort of like affirm, Aaron, like, I do appreciate that, you were trying to raise that and to give us revenue. This is a little bit of a different scenario. It's not even to give us revenue, it's just to help us break even, right? Like, if we don't do it to $10, we're not breaking even. How we balance that against like being burdensome to our constituents is a difficult question, and probably the first of many that we'll be having.
Mr. Sellard?
Is this something that we could consider tiered fees for? For example, houses up to 100,000, maybe they are still at 50. I don't know if this is legal or possible. They stay at 15 for houses 100 to 250. They add 5, and for over that, they're 15 more or something. I don't know. Something that helps kind of address, I don't know who the right person to ask this is about, but maybe it's Aaron.
Yeah, can you speak to that?
Oh, I can't say I like to play attorney on TV or something, but I can't answer that question. The point that you're raising, though, is that maybe some of this could have been flushed out. Like, I don't understand GIS totally. So I don't know where all of the funding comes from, but I thought it was a consortium, right? So there are other parties that are playing a role as well. Is this just our portion that's short? Okay. See, I never even got those answers, so I couldn't even give a more complete and detailed response. So if we could have, if I would have had a more robust conversation about it, we could have looked into some of these things. I didn't even think about how to approach that, but could it be that something like that? I would love to investigate that, but I don't know if I have a direct answer to that question. Yeah. But I understand the need. I understand we have to pay for things. It's sort of a property tax, so to speak, that's being added to this. Another $10 for anyone who makes this purchase or who needs this deed. So, yeah, but I understand.
Any further discussion? Oh, Ms. Furtado.
So yeah, this is discussion only. So I think that this would be like a good opportunity for us to, so we have Matt's question about could it be graduated? And my guess is that is somehow spelled out in state statute, because every fee that we charge, the parameters of it are, you know what I mean? So I think that would be something we'd probably have to kick to our civil side attorney. But I guess maybe, is there any other questions is there any other sets of more information that we would like to get? Because there's nothing that says we're not deciding anything today.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you for the discussion. Besides the transaction recording fee, where else does GIS get its funding from?
GIS is funded by all of its partnership consortium members. So this fee that we're talking about right now pays for the county's membership fee into GIS. The fund for this fee is declining rapidly. It has been for about 2 years, which is how long we've been having this conversation. And if we do not restore the fund through the fee, then the general fund will have to make up the difference, or the county will not be in the GIS consortium, and I don't even know how that would work, so.
So in other words, in order to keep GIS operational and our commitment for it to be operational, the county has decided to tag these transactional fees in order to fund GIS. In other words, GIS' sole purpose in life is not closing costs for real estate transactions, right? It does obviously a lot of thousands of millions of other things, but the county has decided in order to fund GIS and our obligation for that funding, we are going to use these transaction fees.
Well, except that we've been floating it for a couple of years from the general fund.
Well, there's 100 people listening, right? So they have, just like me, maybe have a little ambiguity on GIS. I support GIS. I'm just trying to get more clarification.
I'm sorry, clarification on what GIS does, or where the fund?
I know what GIS does, but I think I'm just trying to settle that the county has decided to fund our portion of GIS, and our mechanism for doing that are these fees, or a portion of these fees.
Okay, I saw Chair Locke and then Mr. Farney.
So yes, and then also, like, we don't just get to tax the people who are buying or selling a home and say, we get free reign over GIS. That's not how, like, we use those fees to pay our dues, basically, to the GIS consortium, to pay for it. But then, like, on the opioid task force, for instance, we used GIS to make a map and a database of where all of the overdoses and Narcan reports for a period of years were. And GIS put this map together for us, and for a fee. It wasn't for free. We then paid for that service. So, yes, GIS gets money from other services it might provide, but our dues are paid through this fee.
I'm going to do just one more thing to add to Matt. Maybe just an idea, I'm not saying it's the answer, that the attendant fee should be proportional to the sales price of the home, rather than just flat for everybody. In other words, proportional. Because right now I think it's just flat for every transaction, right?
Yeah, so similar to what Matt was saying.
So yeah, if someone, just like Matt, I'm just agreeing with him. So if someone have a transaction for, although don't have a heart attack, I don't know how to do CPR, it'd have to be somebody else. So in other words, a $10 million home versus a $100,000 home, they would pay a different fee.
Yeah, so we will definitely look into that.
Okay.
Mr. Farney, did you?
Yeah, I just want to add, the other members of the consortium are the City of Champaign, City of Urbana, University of Illinois, Village of Rantoul, Village of Mahomet, Village of Savoy, and the Village of St. Joseph. So each of them pay an annual fee into it to be part of the consortium along with Champaign County.
Mr. Sellard.
I'd also add that a $10 increase on a $100,000 purchase, and I'm not saying 100,000 buys many homes in Champaign County these days, is a 0.01% of the total costs. When you're buying $100,000 a home, $10 is probably not going to decide whether you can or cannot buy it. And if it is, you probably shouldn't be buying it.
Comment, and I think, are those transactional fees amortized over the length of the loan, or they have to be paid right when you sell the house? I thought they're amortized, so if they're amortized over 30 years, $10 is not like a lot. Okay.
$10 is not a lot.
It's a closing cost.
Yeah, closing cost, okay. Okay.
Just
Ms.
for a
Rogers.
little bit of information, as a family law attorney, when you do a quitclaim deed, you also have to pay this fee. So when one party is buying the house from the other party, you're not necessarily purchasing a $100,000 house, but we do have to pay that fee at the end of the dissolution. Also, if you inherit a home and you're transferring the deed from, the parent to the person who is inheriting the home, then you would also have to pay that fee. So it's not just when you purchase a house, just for everyone's information.
Any further discussion on this one?
Just
Chair
one.
Locke.
If we're going to be talking to the civil division already to ask them about the legality of if we could tier it to the purchase price, could we also explore whether we could have the availability of a waiver for, certain circumstances, like if it's inheritance and you meet a financial, like if you make so little you'd qualify for the public defender, but you don't want to lose the home that your grandmother left you, sort of thing. If we could look into if we could have a waiver for such thing, I would appreciate that as well.
Okay, Mr. Pugh.
Just stay on with the tiers. Can we find out if we could just do a fixed percentage, if that's legal? If one's not, maybe the other one is.
Once, going twice. Anything else on GIS?
I do think that Aaron brought up an important point, though, that this is $10 on a, what did Aaron, $71 transaction. So, like, when we talk to the state's attorney, I think we need to make sure that, like, we're clear that this is like a sub fee within a large, you know what I mean? Like, the people who are paying this probably are not aware of all the, you know what I mean, all the component fees within it. And so I think the legal question has to be, can we do this with GIS, but can we do this, like, do you know what I mean? Like, because all of these different things are working in concert, including the recording of deeds fee, that's also part of this, right? So we would just need to make sure that, like, that the question we're asking has that kind of clarity. Because are we only asking that for the GIS portion? Like, right, for the waiver? Like, are we only asking that for the GIS portion? Are we asking that for the entirety of the fee? Like, and then at some point, we're talking about real money here, right? So like, I think that that's an important distinction that I can anticipate that they would ask, what do you mean? Yeah.
To my part, I'm only asking about GIS.
Anything else on GIS? Ms. Lockton?
Very, very quick math question. As I look back at the finance amendment from item 8A2, the 597, you said that was for the whole of 25, or?
No, that was like an overage.
An overage of, for what period of time? That's what I was. Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, at the beginning of the year, we budget, and sometimes we don't exactly get it right. And our estimate of what it would, like, what our all-in thing was $597 short. So the dues is based on, like, participation and the cost of the software and everything, and we just were off by that much.
Thank you. I wasn't clear on like how that moved then with like what we were talking about. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're done with GIS for now. Okay, moving on, we have establishing salaries of countywide elected officials, specifically the county executive, county clerk, and treasurer. So what we have here, and again, this is discussion only tonight, although I will add that a final decision on this does need to be made next week at the full board, because those salaries need to be set 180 days before the new positions take office. So, so we have tonight to discuss, and then about a week to reflect before our final vote. So what you have in front of you is a resolution that is blank. So this would be the resolution that we would be filling in next week. And then everyone should have also received a memo from Mr. Farney that has a lot of information that he collected comparing Champaign County to other counties in Illinois. And I will turn it over to him if he would like to speak
Sure.
to the memo before we continue discussion.
And actually, I have a point of order to ask, because it does not say on our agenda that this is discussion only. I think we can move something to the full board without a recommendation, but we probably should try to attempt to make some decisions. We might move it without a recommendation, but so it is an actionable item tonight if somebody wants to move forward on that. Yeah, the memo is very similar to what I did 2 years ago. It's a lot of statistical information for you, including how Champaign County ranks amongst the 16 counties that have county auditors. I figured that was a good sample because we can compare offices that we have. There's information about the salary of county clerks, county treasurers, county executives, or full-time county board chair. On that one, I included the full-time county board chair because those are positions that have supervisory responsibilities. So those are elected officials that are performing many of the same tasks as the county executive, just it's a different statutory type of government. I also included for the counties that have part-time county board chairs, since we have a part-time county board chair here in Champaign County, so I have information on their salaries there. And then because we can do this every 2 years when there's an election, I included information about county board member salaries. We have not addressed county board member salaries in Champaign County in 15 years. And before that, it was 21 years, I think, before that, the last time they had looked at it. So this board has a history of not addressing that. And that is one of the main reasons that, quite honestly, Champaign County, when you look at the list of those 15 counties that responded, we are at the bottom of that list. So that's something that we need to actually address and look at as we should be looking at that more often than every 15 or 20 years. Just for the purpose of discussion, honest to God, I do not have a real strong feeling about any of these things. I made some suggestions and I put them into a chart that would look similar to what's in that proposed resolution. I suggested that we freeze the salaries of the county clerk and county treasurer The current salary is $116,234 a year for each of those positions. If you look at the clerk, average salary of clerks in those 16 counties is $106,876. Median salary is $105,302. For county treasurer, it's almost the same, $106,542, same median. So very similar in counties. So Champaign County currently pays those elected officials at a level that's about 109% against the average for the clerk and treasurer, and about 110% against the median for the clerk, 104% for the treasurer. So I think we're in a good spot on those positions. I do not have the appetite to lower the salaries for those two positions, even though statistically it could be warranted. For the county executive, those ranged in a salary from $131,559 in DuPage County to the Kankakee County Board Chair, who is a full-time employee, and the Liquor Commissioner. Their total compensation is $67,154. Champaign County ranks 10th out of the 11 counties that have a full-time executive or board chair at $72,828. In my proposal there, I suggested that the county executive salary should be $95,548.69, which is the same salary as the county auditor and county coroner, those salaries that we set 2 years ago. My reasoning is that they are peer elected officials voted on by the entire county, and have employees that report to them and have to be supervised in a similar manner. In fact, the county executive office has more employees than both of those offices. For county board chair, Champaign County, for the part-time county board chair, ranks 6th out of the 7 at $12,000. The average salary is $24,223. The median salary is $23,000. So the county board chair salary is about half of the average and about half of the median. I suggested that we consider raising that for the next 2 years to $15,000 a year. It doesn't get us to the average of the median, but it is some movement that way. And so those were just numbers that I put in there to start the discussion. Even though board member wasn't listed on the agenda, it is something that we have to address by June if we want to address that, and if this board has the appetite to do that. I think that would be a good discussion to have as well. And I can try to answer questions if you have them about these, but I just wanted to provide you with factual information about peer counties.
Thank you. Mr. Sullard.
I just had a quick question on the clerk's list. Does that, in your research, did it clarify which ones are combined with the recorder?
Yeah, that's in the note right underneath the list of salaries. Champaign, Madison, McHenry, McLean, and Sangamon County, as of this year, and Tazewell and Winnebago are combined offices.
Ms. Furtado.
To follow up on that, my phone is going to die, so I can't do it. I think I need a new phone and a new battery, and I won't admit it. But could somebody, JJ or somebody, could you calculate the mean of those? Do you know what I'm saying? Yes, we have them listed, but we don't have the mean. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me.
I mean, it's just.
You mean of just those that are combined?
I mean, I would be able to do it on my phone if I wasn't at 3% battery. It's just, it's just 7.
Yeah, I can try to work on that.
Okay, I could do it if I didn't.
Would you like a phone, Stephanie?
What? Well, I think JJ's doing it.
Mr. Pugh.
I'm not a.
Yes. I had to write stuff down, so I'm still on painkillers, so please excuse me. For the last 8 months, we've heard nothing but the county is in structural deficit. That we're going to have to either raise revenue or cut personnel and services. For over a year, we've heard that the county doesn't have any money at all, really, to spend. The 2020 audit is not done, so we don't know fully where our financial situation is. But here we are talking about raises when we don't have the money. County clerk and county treasurer make over $100K. They're doing okay. I'll take it. Michelle Jett came out in the News Gazette, said that she was fine with the salary where it was. With that position too, You know, we do have a director of administration that makes about $100,000 a year, roughly, too, that does a lot of the actual work. And my consideration is, if we're going to hold faith with this, they were under a structural deficit, that we don't have money, we should, if we're going to cut personnel and services, we got to keep everything the same. We can't be increasing even for us, because apparently we don't have the money for anything. And we're going to be like a $2 million shortfall here coming up. And we're asking departments, we're asking rank and file staff to possibly have to do with less, or possibly do more for the same money they're getting, or to ask departments, you know, you can't afford paper clips this month, or paper, or whatever. You got to make even more cuts. And that's just not a good look on us if we raise even anybody's up this year, including our own. Thank you.
Ms. Carter.
I know we have a lot of new board members, but I just want to reflect back to our previous county executive. Steve Summers ran on basically eliminating some of the salary that Darlene Kleppel was making. And if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, it was at $130,000. Is that correct?
122.
Oh, okay, 122. Okay, and he said that he would take that position at $70,000. And so why are we increasing this by $25,000? It's in a discussion. I don't need you to have something to say every time I say something.
Okay.
Okay? Just like y'all stay on me about commenting, I need you to be quiet while I talk, because it's annoying me. And I done told you that more than once.
Okay, Ms. Carter,
I don't interrupt you when you talk. Stop doing that to me. This is on the agenda for discussion, and that's what I'm doing. No one should get an increase. I'm going to have to disagree with Pugh. I think the county board members do deserve a raise. Everybody else got their hand out, and I think it's way overdue for a county board raise. I have to pay a babysitter when I come here sometimes when my mother is not available. My mother is 80 years old, so sometimes she does not feel well, and I cannot leave my son with her. I have to pay $35 for my son to be watched by a babysitter. And then all of the stress that comes along with this position. It deserves an increase. Anybody else, I don't think should. We're facing a deficit. We are. But if you look back and you follow what the executive's salary was in previous years, we were supposed to reduce that, hoping to save the county money, and then it's gradually going back up. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Thank you.
Mr. Varney.
Yeah, on the clerk and recorder combined offices, the mean is 117,326, so we're at 99.1% of the mean, and the median is 113,175, so 102.7% of the median. So I'd say we're pretty close on those.
Chair Locke.
Thank you. I feel like I need to chime in as somebody who this will not affect at all. As we all know, I am finishing at the end of my term, and I'm going to go be a lowly lawyer somewhere fighting with people for money that will allow me to pay a babysitter. And you are right. On the nights when I have to pay for a sitter, I don't break even. I'm paying to come to the meeting, just like you. We are woefully underpaid as board members. And the ethical churn that I feel when I'm sitting here thinking we need to just hold everything flat, but we need more. It rubs me wrong, and I still don't know how I'll vote on it. But it is, for the many board members with children that are too young to be home alone, this is a financial burden. Now, as somebody who has a position that's listed on here, the county board chair, apparently I'm really underpaid by peer counties, But also, we have a county executive, and so a lot of the duties that those county board chairs have, I don't have. I wish I was the liquor commissioner. I'd be sampling. It would be wonderful. Unfortunately, but that's not it. We're not in what if. I'm now just where we are. $1,000 a month to be the board chair. Sometimes I think it's overpaying me. Sometimes I think I deserve more. It depends on how we're all behaving. But I think it's fair. But what I don't think is fair is that the committee chairs take on extra burden for nothing. I, as board chair, was, getting my stipend to have meetings with every department head when we were meeting as finance leadership. Ms. Hanauer-Friedman and Mr. Farney were also at most of those meetings. They were at as many as I was. And they're doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. There's not the $60 meeting stipend. They're just taking their lunch and, coming here instead. It's, so I don't know that this is the time to do it, but I think that we should, instead of raising the county board chair salary, we should consider a small stipend or a large whatever. We should consider a stipend for being a committee chair, because it is extra work. It's agenda planning meetings. It's meeting with constituents that aren't your own, but they are yours because they're the whole county's. It's answering reporter questions. It's a lot of being the face of it that, any one of us is just nameless one head on the 22-headed beast don't have to do. So it's not on JJ's memo. It's not something that, has been really fully fleshed out. But I think that instead of raising the board chair salary, we should compensate the members for going over and above. Similar things happen in the state legislature. When you serve on a various leadership role, you get a bump for that. If you lose that leadership role, you lose that bump. I don't know that we can meet that before the 180 days deadline before the people would take office. But it's something we could consider. I do like setting the salaries and holding them flat because we don't know where inflation's going to go. We don't know what PTEL is going to do to us in the next 4 years. So I appreciate not building in a CPI increase like used to be on these. And those are my not fully formed thoughts. I wish you all well. I'll vote on this next week, but it won't affect me.
Ms. Furtado.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's two things. I think it's important to acknowledge the awkwardness of that our electeds are on two separate election cycles. And so if we freeze these folks with, and I'm probably in support of that, but if we freeze these folks, that means that some of the other elected that are on the other cycle won't be frozen, but there's nothing that we could do about it. Just the way it is. And it used to be the opposite. So the folks that would not be frozen in the past were frozen while everybody else wasn't frozen. So I guess what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's now their turn. So there's that. I mean, I do think too, in the car today, I was listening to one of those marketplaces, and CPI for this last month was 3.8%. It's the highest it's been in 3 years, mostly driven by gas prices because of an insane war that is apparently, and then second by food costs, because when diesel's expensive, food is expensive. So I think hopefully that CPI doesn't stay, but that's, as high as it's been basically since we've been came out of the pandemic. So I just wanted to mention that. And then in terms of, to echo Chair Carter's point, I think that, I'm sorry, Board Member Carter's point, you used to be, habit, is that, when we have something that's set this low, it disincentivizes parents, it disincentivizes working class people, it disincentivizes, I think about some of our rural members who have to drive. Every time they come here, they're driving a really far way. I know that there's mileage, but I don't know that our mileage is actually keeping up with mileage anymore. So I don't know. I also understand Mr. Pugh's point. Maybe this isn't the right time to do it, but it has not been the right time to do it for 15 years. And I don't know, is next year going to be the right time? You know what I'm saying? We can only do this. We wouldn't be able to revisit it for 2 more years. At some point, if we want this body to represent our constituents
and to have an actual, everybody has the opportunity to run for this, the general stipend has to be enough to at least cover your cost of being here. And, you know, I'm local and I don't have kids, so for me, it's not a big deal. But for people that are, you know, in a different tax bracket, have kids or are from farther away, it might be a difference of them deciding, I don't want to run. And I want this to be a board where our makeup can reflect our community.
Mr. Varney and then Mr. Pugh.
Since board member is not on our agenda tonight, I think we might, if we could ask administration to include an agenda item on the full board meeting with a sample resolution so that we can discuss and put numbers on that and then vote yes or no on that. But I don't think it's appropriate for us to vote on board member salary tonight since it's not on the agenda. But I think I would like to see it on the agenda so we can make that decision and vote it up or down. So I just wanted to point that out just to make sure so we don't run afoul of Open Meetings Act or anything like that. The other thing, on the circuit clerk and county auditor positions and county coroner positions, when we compare them to the clerk and treasurer got large increases back in 2022. That was before my time on the board. And in 2024, when we went through and analyzed it, that's when they were smaller increases at that point. And so that's one of the reasons I feel comfortable without adding a cost of living increase to this cycle of officers, because they're significantly higher than their peers. Again, I don't have any appetite to lower their salaries. I don't think that's the right thing to do. But we can keep it flat on those.
Mr. Pugh.
No, yes, I totally get it on the increasing the board members. I did have a train of thought here. The painkillers kicked in again, so please bear with me. Gonna keep it going here. Maybe I'll get the rail there. What could we do with that? I mean, is $10 enough? Is $20 enough or something like that? You know, I think we should, before the full board meeting, we should have ideas at least coming into that, of what that looks like for, like, especially people that are hardest hit. What would get them to show up? I'll come back around. Let somebody go and let me kick back in again. Excuse me.
Any further discussion? Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. A couple questions, a couple statements and a question. On page 39, I wonder if you want to amend that. It's on the bottom of the page. Now therefore be it and hereby resolved by the county board, the county of Champaign, Illinois, the salaries for circuit clerk, auditor, coroner, county board chair shall be fixed as follows, but there's not a line item for a auditor or coroner on there. Maybe you want to change that. I'm just reading the words. I know the title.
It's just the wrong language. so
Yeah, it's
we'll
copy
just-
and paste error.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe it's on auto turn off. So the other item on Mr. Farney, thank you so much for putting this together. Just on this one table, can you put what the January 1, 2025 salaries are? So we can compare it with your thoughts for starting in 12/1/2026 or something like that?
These are their current salaries.
Oh,
So,
these are the
as of today.
Oh, then I missed that part. Okay, thanks. So now my opinion. My opinion, and I have a question because I wasn't here when the salary was changed from 122 to 70. There must have been, I'm sure, a solid discussion and reasoning why that was justifiable. I'd like to hear what that reasoning was, and then what has changed to discard that reasoning. And then my opinion is I don't want to see any increases in salary. I want them to stay flat. And because of all the angst we went through and the discussions went through to try to, I think it was a 3% raise we ended up with the staff. And asking them, I think, was to, well, this is the best we can do for you. And then to turn around and increase the salaries of the elected officials just seems like we're slapping, in my opinion, we may not be, it just seems in my opinion we're slapping them in the face. So if you could please explain to me, why did we devalue the county executive position from 122 to 70, and then now what has caused it to need a change?
I was not on the board at that time, and I don't know if anybody who was here then wants to speak to your.
Yeah, I was on the board, and I'll be honest with you, I was on the fence about lowering it that much. There was conversations to lower it even further. I think the majority of the board was pretty deeply dissatisfied with the role of the executive at the time. And I would also say that I mean, I think there was a sense that the 122, which I think, you know, if it had continued with CPI, would be, you know, above 125 now. I think that there was a thought that that was too high. To be honest, Executive Summers also just was very blunt, and he said, you know, I have a retirement. I'm running. We all knew he was going to win, right? And so he was like, I don't need that much. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, honestly, he just was like, I don't need, like, this is a retirement job for me, so I don't, you know what I mean? So I don't know that it was necessarily based on an analysis, and I thought this at the time, of the duties of the job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because if you think about these elected officials, you know, as JJ was saying, like, the framework of how many people do they supervise, what are their statutory duties, do you know what I'm saying? It wasn't, there was not like the executive office does 80% of what the coroner's office does, so therefore they should get paid 80%. Do you see what I'm saying? That was not the analysis. The analysis was more based on, there was a sense that it was too high, that it didn't make sense. Now, I will also say the two folks that we're not talking about are the state's attorney and the sheriff, because those, a significant portion of their salaries are paid by the state. And if we don't pay them at the prescribed rate that the state says, the state doesn't give us our money, which is, let me be clear, our tax money that we give to the state that they give back to us. So those salaries, to some degree, it's like your population is this big, that's what the salary is going to be, unless we just want to eat the entire salary. For those that we actually control, it was a new position, and I think there was some sentiment. I think it was a universal sentiment on the board that that position didn't have more responsibility than every other elected official who we had the authority to set. And so therefore we needed to lower it. The amount that we lowered it was a subject matter of great debate, much more debate than this, over weeks, it felt like. And we eventually rose at 70%, and we tied it to the CPI percentage, although it wasn't even real CPI, it was like half of, we tied it to the same rate of increase that we tied the other elected officials. And that's sort of the history of it. To be honest with you, I don't know that it was necessarily the most data-driven decision that this board has ever made.
Ms. Rodriguez.
I just want to second that. I think that was one of my very first votes that I took on the board. And I think it was my first time that I broke with my caucus in voting against lowering it as much as we did. I don't remember any kind of, again, a data-driven conversation. It was, this is what Steve thinks it should be for now. And again, it was at once, it was not something that we saw like projecting into the future. It seemed to be like a one-time decision. But yeah, I do think it should be raised.
Steve, did you want to?
At the time when I was a board member, I was the vice chair, and I looked at what I felt was the workload for the county executive. I thought that the salary rate was grossly too high. I will say that the workload that I have, and I'll do deference to my predecessor, is a good bit higher. I would say that with the workload currently, 70 plus the half of CPI increase, which is what we agreed on. I had suggested that be CPI. Former board member Goss and I disagreed on that, and the board chose Mr. Goss's position. The workload for the executive has increased significantly. It would be up to this board to decide if they want at this time to try and do a more analytical evaluation of what the appropriate level would be. But the reason that for the drop was I saw what the executive was doing at the time, and that was not a $120,000 position.
Ms. Carter.
And we'll come at this at different perspectives. But from what I seen on the board, because I was on the board at that time, they wanted to make the executive office salary low like that because they wanted it to be less attractive. I could also remember people speaking on the fact that it was not a full-time position, that this could be taken, the work of the county executive office could be taken care of as a part-time position. So now it's just mind-boggling to me that we're raising that salary number back up, and for what? And we're facing a deficit. And she signed up for this. This is the inherited salary as under the executive office currently. It should stay the same, so it should not be raised. So I would vote no for that. And for all the other reasons that Mr. Wilson also pointed out, the struggle, the issues that we had with paying our county employees, that would be a slap in the face. So it shouldn't be easy for her to get a wage increase just because we're friends, because that would be the only justifiable reason why you would vote yes for it, and not looking at all the other reasons why you should vote no to increase that salary. So that was my perspective from then. They wanted to make that position less attractive for anybody else to run so that no one else would run against Steve. And they did not care for, or there was some bickering between the former executive and this county board. And so that was, let's make a great statement and lower the salary as of making it look less attractive to anybody else that would pursue that position. So that's the way this county board works. And now it's coming back to nip them in the butt, but they lowered it for a reason. And as mentioned by the executive too, there wasn't a lot of work. It is a part-time position, and it should stay the same. Thank you.
Mr. Pugh.
Thank you. I actually remembered my question. So if we're going to raise county board member salaries per meeting, is it just the ones that were elected this year, or is it all as a whole? Okay, I just want to make sure that's clarified. And I do want to say, the other thing too, as a Democrat, we had two people run to be county executive. Both of them were fine with the salary as it was. If we have to cut a job or somebody's services or whatever, then whoever gets a raise needs to go out there and tell come up there every time and somebody has to wait extra in line or can't get a service, sorry, but I deserve to raise more. And I'm going to say that.
Ms. Rogers.
I'm not 100% sure how I vote next week, but I do have concerns with giving the county executive over 30% raise. I understand that the office does a lot more work than they did before, and so I don't know that I don't support increasing her salary some and maybe stair-stepping it. But if we are telling our constituents that we have a deficit and we're going to have to do cuts, giving someone over 30% increase when we were just arguing with our employees about a 3%, I do think is a slap in the face, and I don't think it's a good look. So I would be a no to the 95, but potentially to something else.
Ms. Lakshin, and then we'll go Locke Furtado.
I just wanted to reiterate that this is all Vice Chair Farney's numbers, so anybody can throw anything out. Yeah, this is not from the full board. This is JJ's math to start with.
Can I
Chair
throw
Locke.
out a 3% increase like our county employees
When I
got?
call on you after, because I said Locke, Furtado, and then we'll do Carter.
So the Jenny Mind meld was at work there because I was going to make the exact same point, and I encourage every single person here to come back next week with the number that you want it to be. I hear the 3% coming from Ms. Carter. I can see where the reasoning is for that. I can understand where we overcorrected, we need to bring it back argument comes from. And so each of us actually has a real job to do. We have to figure out what that number is. I don't think we are even at a point where we could throw out the numbers and vote on them tonight. But definitely think about it so that when we come next week, because we do have to pass something next week because it has to be 180 days before they take office. And since we couldn't finalize it in early June, we need to finalize it before June.
Furtado.
I just wanted to say, I do think, and again, I don't know that, I fully understand that maybe this isn't the ideal time to do this. At some point, we need to return this office to some sort of data-driven, like, reasonableness, because, like, so kind of to some degree, and I mean, I was there, I was in the room, the conversation was not, there was not that it was a part-time job. There was a conversation that the current office holder was treating it like a part-time job. But no, there was never an expectation that this should be a part-time job, because if that is the case, that like would be how that executive office would have to be framed, and there's nothing in that. Now, I will say this about all of our elected officials. I mean, I think we all know this. There's no rules. Once the person's in office, there is no rules about how much they're in their office. I mean, I think that's kind of crazy, but it's true. Like, you know, and we have seen not just in this current iteration, but going back years and years and years and years, some people treat it as if it's a full-time job, and some people absolutely have not in our county's history. So, like, you know, I think we're fortunate that we have a lot of very dedicated elected officials who show up and probably work more than 40 hours a week, including the current executive. But that has not always been the case, and there's literally nothing we can do about it. If they want to come in one day a week, if they want to come in at 10 o'clock, it is a salaried position and the statute is silent on what exactly that means, as long as they're filling statutory. So, I mean, I do think, and I'm not necessarily saying right now, but I do think long-term, as we're thinking about this office, if we're going to be living with this office, and all indications are that we are going to be living with this office, because it's a very high bar to do anything about not having this office, is like, so yes, we're talking about, so if we think about like, oh, well, how is this paid to our staff? Sure, it's a big raise when you think about how it's paid to our staff. If you look at our staff that have equivalent responsibilities, this office makes anywhere from half to 2/3. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? Of like those equivalent, like, because the folks that this is equivalent with would across the board be salaried, non-bargaining positions. And, you know, this person right now is supervising multiple people that make double them, right? They are making significantly less than any other countywide elected official. And we heard from JJ that this office actually supervises more staff than some of those folks, right? And so, like, if you're thinking about it in a terms of just like equity and responsibility of duties and long-term, like, who would be like wanting to run for this office, I mean, the salary just frankly doesn't make any sense. Now, am I saying that I think we need to address it right now or that we can address it right now? That's a much more difficult question. But I think we need to acknowledge that the salary is not pegged to the responsibilities of the office. It is not pegged to the peer office holders within this county. And as JJ's analysis showed, it is not pegged to a reasonable dollar amount to what other counties pay this role, whether it be executive or board chair or full-time board chair. So, I mean, I do think that if this board, and I think we're fortunate in, you know, who we've had in this office, but I do think if this board is saying to some degree, I think this salary is signifying a level of work that we expect out of this office. And I would expect do you know what I'm saying? Like, so it just, this is, I think that we could have two conversations at once, the difficulty of raising the salary, and also, is this equitable? And it's not equitable in terms of any reasonable data-driven measure that you can employ on this office, whether it be the salaries of staff that they supervise, the other elected officials in the county, or the similar positions in other counties. So, I mean, any way you run the numbers, it's just an awkward number.
Ms. Carter.
If I can remember right, we didn't have a county administrator back then either, did we? Nor did we have a county administrator that made more than the county executive. When Darlene Kleppel was here, we had a county administrator. I don't need I'm asking, because I want you to be quiet while I talk, like I be quiet while you're talking. That's what I want. This is where I'm confused at.
Samantha,
our
it was
county administrator
had a county,
right now
yeah,
is making more than our county executive.
yes. But also the county executive makes less. The
county administrator right now, as it's set right now,
yeah.
Stephanie, our county administrator is making more than our elected county executive.
So is our chief information officer, our director of finance, our
We have
facilities.
added a whole bunch more positions in that office since then, is where I'm coming from. And then it has exploded. That office has exploded with positions and salaries. So you have to justify, not just, oh, we're just going to reset the county executive office. Well, what is our new county administrator's salary going to be set at? Because she's now the county executive. So do we address that as well or not?
I don't think the board has control over that salary.
But make it make sense, though. You have to make this make sense what you're doing. What is the difference? Can somebody pull those numbers up? Finance chair, vice chair? What is the difference of pay from our county executive and at the county administrator's position?
Yeah, Mr.
One of the other documents on your desk tonight is the salary schedule for non-bargaining employees. And you will see Director of Administration, the hourly rate, the entry level, the mid-grade, the maximum grade. It's one of the additional handouts that was on your desk when you got here tonight. So it's the one that looks like, this, okay? So the Director of Administration is in that pay grade, where are they at? Pay grade L. So that would be 1,950 hours, so the range of salary for that, for minimum, mid, and max is between $76,081 to $114,163. I do not know what the current Director of Administration's hourly rate is, but it will be in that range, okay?
Ms. Carter, did you want to, because I know you had said something about 3% before, I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to expand on that if you wanted.
Well, I mean, I'm seriously worried about, only because constituents have mentioned this to me as well, the difference of the county executive and the county administrator's salary. And then if our county administrator, what is Michelle Jett's position?
Director of
Director
Administration.
of Administration. If she is taking this role on as the county executive, it should be at the amount that is set at. There should not be any increases to it, is what my point was. I am trying to think back. When Darlene was here, there was a position, please don't try to make me out to be a liar. I can't remember everything, but I'm looking for clarity, Stephanie, okay? What position was not there when Darlene was in office that we created? And I think it was the county administrator.
No, so the county administrator is not been filled since the county executive became a thing. The county administrator, the last guy, so that was a position that doesn't exist anymore. That was actually a position the board controlled, and that salary dollar amount is, we've used it for a lot of different things. We used it for the broker, like the people that helped do the nursing home closure. We used it to pay some of the legal fees when the previous.
So it was the director of administrations that was created.
Yeah. So
okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So all of this, Emily.
Wait. So
you don't have to do all that. You don't have to do all that.
Ms. Carter,
you don't have to do all that.
Point of order. Ms. Carter, you are out of order.
I'm talking to Stephanie. I don't need all of these dramatic emotions and hand gestures coming from her.
Please lower your voice and let Ms. Furtado answer your question.
Right, so then when the county executive came in, there was always a director. So the first person was Isak, if you could remember, and then she went and worked for the circuit clerk for a very long time. And then Bill, and I forget his name, he's the person who now, Holbrook, and he runs the, he is now the proprietor of the Courier, randomly, right? So both of those, and so that position has always been there. That position. I will say that the duties of that position, I think, have expanded under this current administration. But no, there was always a director underneath the executive. So there were two people in those roles, and then they moved on to other things within the county. So that's always been sort of the structure.
Ms. Carter, were you done, or did you have anything else?
Like I said, there's still no reason for Michelle Jett's current position to be more than the elected official's salary. So I'm just going to end it there. Whether I got the job titles incorrect, it may be. Okay? But you cannot make that make sense to me. I don't care how you rebuttal everything that I say. There is no reason why her position would have a higher salary than the elected official salary. So whether you agree to disagree, that is my perspective on this situation. Thank you.
Okay, I see Mr. Pugh.
Thank you. A little bit of clarification then, because all these org charts I've seen over and over and over again for the administration side, it always ends at the director of administration. It never ends at the county executive. So is the director of administration in charge of all the staff and all the decisions made there? Or how does this work then? Because I said every org chart I've seen through us for that whole side, when we're adding people, they have to move people around, do whatever, it stops at the director of administration. It doesn't go to county executive. So is the director of administration in charge of that staff?
I'll let our executive chime in on this. I don't know exactly which org charts you're referring to, but
Everyone we've had about for the administration side for the last 3.5 years I've been on the board.
The Director of Administration position answers to my office. Over time, I have delegated some additional duties to that position, but it's not substantially changed from when Darlene was the executive in terms of what the org chart would look like.
So you give whatever orders you need to the administrative staff, to director of administration, and they relay those down the chain of command then?
My duties go beyond the Director of Administration duties. I have other significant duties in the community and with other committees that I serve on throughout our county.
No, I get that. I'm just trying to figure out for the employees in the administrative office. So you and the Director of Administration can give orders to them to say for more of a military reason, or is there, I'm just trying to figure this out. Like, so you and Michelle could both tell somebody what to do, or Michelle does, or you tell Michelle to do something, and Michelle tells the person?
The finance director takes care of the finance department. It's a larger department now because we've absorbed the duties of the auditor. Other than that, we have individual offices that are overseen by the Director of Administration.
Okay. So the finance reports to you, but not to the Director of Administration?
Actually, the our finance head does report to Director of Administration.
Okay, that's what I thought, yes. Mm-hmm. And that Director of Administration reports to you. So it's kind of like, not really assistant role, but that second step kind of takes care of the administrative office. Is that a good way to put it?
Well, if you look at other county departments, I think if you
I'm just asking here, right now for our org charts, because that's what's confusing to me, because it sounds like what's being portrayed maybe a little bit is that both of you kind of take care of the administrative department at the same time.
I would suggest that you look at other org charts within county offices. That would provide some clarification on what the process is in terms of how a lead director takes care of the staff that they supervise.
No, I get that, but all the org charts stop at Director of Administration. They never go up to you. They never show
No, that's
you.
incorrect.
Okay, good enough.
Mr. Farney?
Yeah, I have two things. Number one, page 23 of the 2026 budget shows the organization chart. Citizens, the elected officials, county executive, right underneath county executive, reporting to county executive is administrative services. It's on page 23 of your budget. So they report up the chain to Steve. I would like to make a motion that we advance this to the full board without recommendation from here, so leaving that chart blank, and we come with numbers next week, and we move on.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Wilson? Okay. Moving on, we have Board of Review member salaries. This is discussion only. So we're looking at the salary grade range and the cost of living adjustments. So again, this goes back, it's related to the discussion we had under policy and personnel where we looked at the job descriptions. Here, we need to give direction, although this is discussion only. So I guess ideally next week give direction on how we want for new people coming into these positions. So this would not impact people currently in the positions, but for anybody new who's hired, what we want their starting salary to be and whether they should get a cost of living adjustment. Any discussion? Mr. Farney.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that Board of Review members were not receiving a cost of living increase when we pay that to non-bargaining employees. I look at the Board of Review as being employees of the county, just like any other position. Supervisor assessments is an appointed position. They've received the cost of living increase. So I think I would like to see us, if we need to put that in writing somewhere, I think we should be doing that for those three members of the Board of Review. I think the pay grade is the appropriate pay grade for them. Now, I guess it doesn't really spell out, do they automatically start at the minimum?
And I think that's what we're being asked to provide direction on. And you can see this is, we're talking about grade I. If you look on page 48 of your packet, you can see the minimum is $52,602.
And then you would take 80% of that to get their actual salary, because they're 80% of that number.
Ms. Fortato.
Yeah, my understanding is one of the things that is driving this is, we're down a Board of Review member right now. And so, I think they want some direction on, if they as they bring in this new person, are they going to make the same as the other? Do you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? Because, we have two folks that have been there for a very long time, apparently not getting COLA. So are we just bringing in this new person at the same rate? And then the second question is, are we just never going to do like the COLA question? And I agree with JJ. I didn't realize that the board's, it just is like the board will do the salary. It's super vague. The board has never really given the executive's office any direction on this in the history of us being a board.
Ms. Chet?
Yeah, so just to clarify, we have given them COLA the last couple of years. I just don't feel like it's very clear that we have the authority that we're supposed to be doing that. So I would like to confirm much clearer that that is what the board intends, because that one sentence, does not really do much for us of the board will set the salary, right? It almost indicates that the salary for these positions is separate and independent in some manner. So that is one piece of clarification that we're looking for is yes, this current iteration of the board is saying, yes, we don't need to talk about this anymore. They always get the COLA.
Chair Locke?
One other consideration that I think has been said, but like I want to articulate more, is that like we're all making the same $60 for this meeting, and Ms. Lorraine's been here forever, Den's been here for this much time, and we're making the same. Do we want to treat the Board of Review the same way, where they've been getting the COLA as it goes, but a new member makes the same, starting where that COLA is, just recognizing like, hey, they're making $54,000 and you are too? Or do we want to start everyone new at the base rate and reward them for their continued service? Because it takes some time to learn how to do that job effectively.
Yeah, it seems to me that this is much more like a full-time job than a county board member position is, and that we do want to recognize people who have been there for, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. So, yeah, Ms. Vanish, they're not.
I would also mention that this job requires actual qualifications to hold, and ours does not, so.
Truth.
Thank you for that vote of confidence. Any other discussion?
So I just, thank you for the discussion. It didn't really clear up a lot for me. So I'm going to propose that we come with a resolution next week. We will put some suggestions in it, which you can, of course, adjust as you see fit. But I would like to, one, just codify again. We don't need to discuss COLA again. It applies. And then a suggestion around if you're saying when a new member comes on, where do they start versus the fact that other people will be in different steps in that scenario.
Can I ask, has there been difficulty filling positions?
There is a candidate that has tested. I'm not sure if they are eligible at this point, so I'm still waiting. I know we did have at least one individual that was very interested and was going to be testing.
I will say yes, we have difficulty filling
I mean, my question is like, is salary, are we losing people because salary is too low, which is the case for so many of our positions, but.
I think whatever iteration of the board decided that having a realtor's license is a requirement, de facto put a much higher expectation on the salary. And then the salary has not kept up with that expectation. So I think that's what we're fighting against Stream on a bit.
Ms. Furtado.
Yes, unbelievably difficult. Like, this was one of the hardest things to get the last one. It was a humongous bone of contention when we did fill it with the previous executive. And if you have your realtor's license, there's no reason in your right mind. This is the job that you would go do, right? You could make a lot more money doing not this with a lot less people yelling at you. That said, I want to be very careful. Are we actually talking about COLA? Because what JJ was talking about wasn't COLA. It was that they would receive the same increase as our non-bargaining staff. That's not COLA,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's what we call it.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever
Okay.
you set the COLA to be.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But we're also talking about what we want to set the minimum salary or the starting salary at.
Yes.
Okay, so you will provide a resolution with a suggested starting salary and COLA, and then the board next week can adjust as we see fit.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. We have, for the Regional Planning Commission, approving application and if awarded, the acceptance of the Advanced Transportation and Land Use Analysis Suite Atlas Grant. Can I get a motion? It's a long night. Lokshin, second by Vantage Theranos. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And then we have an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement by and between County of Cook, Illinois, and the Board of Trustees of the University of Illinois and County of Champaign, Illinois. Can I get a motion? Artis, second by Sexton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I have no other business. I have no chair's report. Designation of items to be placed on the consent agenda. I have A2, A3, E1, and E2.
Right, moving on, Ms. Rogers, Chair of Justice and Social Services, has had to leave. She's in trial tomorrow. So I'll do it for her. We have monthly reports available on the website for emergency management through April 2026, probation and court services, March 26, and first quarter statistics, the public defender through April of 26. There's no other business, no chair's report, no items on the consent agenda, and Justice and Social Services is closed. The chair of this committee, or of this board, has no other business and calls this meeting adjourned at 8:31 p.m.